you're from Canada. I know you live in LA.
Yes, sir.
I'm from Canada. I live in Florida, but going to Toronto to film, it was really cool because once again, like you see the script and like Pa, Bones, your dad is an ex rock star, but then he has to give up that lifestyle because of his substance abuse, and then he goes to try and become a horse breeder, and like it's always cool when you show up and see these sets.
Yes.
And this the sets that they had were actually really really cool for us, like the stables and all that sort of thing. It was the whole atmosphere I thought was bigger than I was expecting, I guess I would
yeah,
say.
I was so impressed by a lot of the sets, but particularly the horse stables. There was two. There was we shot two locations within the location, but
Yeah,
the barn was so pretty. But then there was that huge kind of like, I don't know what you call it, arena,
yeah.
and it was just massive. And I had to walk that one horse around that thing, and that horse was like, "No, I'm done with this." Did you hear about this? On the leg?
No, tell me the story.
So I hadn't really, which is weird because I grew up in a town called Cloverdale, but I had no like real experience with horses. And when I booked this role in the script, originally Tori was riding horses and she's supposed to be this, pretty accomplished equestrian. So I was like, I better shape up. So I started taking lessons every week and going up to do like trail riding and just like grooming and just kind of really getting comfortable with horses up in Ojai. And it was awesome. I loved it. I found it very meditative. And yeah, I started just kind of getting more used to being around horses. And then I get to set and they're like, oh, we cut all the stuff of Tori riding. It wasn't necessary. But it was probably a good thing because I think I was a little intimidated. Like horses are massive animals.
Right.
And, if you don't know how to act around them, they can be dangerous. So I just felt like I wouldn't be able to do my job if I didn't, get that comfort level to a certain point. But yeah, I don't remember the horse's name. But it was just one of those days where this horse did not want to act. It was like, I'm not about this. And
Yeah.
the scene with me and Barrett talking and we're just walking around and around. And the poor trainer was like, you have to hold him like this. So I did. And at one point she's like, put your hand like across his mouth area and make him move. So I went to do that. And this horse was like, nah, fuck you. And just like chomped my eye. And I'm dying to see that blooper. I hope somebody saved it because see the horse go down. It was like, no. Yeah. After that, it took me a couple takes to ease back. Yeah, luckily it didn't break any skin. And it was just objectively hilarious. But I think having done the lessons ahead of time helped prepare me for that moment.
We had a scene like that too in that arena. I guess it's more of like a big giant pen, maybe whatever you would call it.
Yeah.
And it was with Craig, who plays like my worker guy. He's like the guy on the farm who's working and hanging out. And yeah, and the funny thing was that we had to, like you said, walk around with this horse, and there's actually kind of a scene where the horse is kind of running around, and he's supposed to be running in front. Like the cameras are all set up, like Video Village is kind of behind everything, obviously, and so the cameras are there, and then Craig and I and the horse are focused in front, and this guy's supposed to be running from back and forth, like, a horizontal line. And then he decides to just like start running right through Video Village, right through everybody. He's just going on a rampage, and people are like, you know how it is, right? You don't like, there's no way we're going to get trampled by a horse, but you can easily get trampled by a horse. So no, everyone's trying to be cool about it, but this horse is fucking running around all over the place, and they're trying to stop it. Like the trainer's like running, like, no. And the guy's just like he's like, fuck you.
But at the end of the day, it's an animal. Like they said, there's like a rule. Like I think it's something like in film, you should never work with kids or animals.
Yes.
You just don't know what they're going to do. And we work with them.
That's the W.C. Fields motto. But I was just thinking, like, how do you stop this guy? And as long as you get, 4 seconds of the horse running in the right place, they can edit it accordingly.
Yeah, editing is such a beautiful thing.
He's just gonna knock over all these cameras and all this sort of stuff. Like he doesn't even care at all.
Oh my God. Well, it's like I was literally thinking about that on set. I was like, what does a horse think of this? Like a horse isn't like, I'm here to work. Like what is going on? Like I think it's such an interesting perspective because I do feel like obviously there's pretty strict laws when you have an animal on set to make sure it like looks out for the welfare of the animal. But I'm just like, I would love to be inside that horse's mind, being like, what's with these lights? Why is that person with a huge Steadicam? Like that thing would be scary too. Like the Steadicam, it's this kind of mechanism where the cameraman is holding the camera, but it's on this kind of, I don't even know what you would call it. It's just like this big piece of metal that kind of extends out the back and around. And then he's got one hand on
Yeah.
either end of it and to hold it steady. And so it's just like this huge contraption, and it's black and metal. And I feel like an animal would be, I mean, my dog would be totally weirded out by that.
It almost looks like if you watch the Spider-Man movies, like Dr. Octopus, he's got that big
Yes.
apparatus with all the arms coming out, that or like
Yes.
Ripley in Aliens when she drives that thing at the end. You're kind of ensconced inside this mechanical canopy, but you have to hold it on your back.
There's the word choices I was looking for. Yeah, it's like it's hard to describe unless you've seen one, but that's a great way of describing it.
So when it comes to Tori, and obviously my daughters, like you said, which is so funny, that are they're going into country music, and it's June and it's Tori, and you mentioned there is a lot of singing in the movie. I know, especially Country Hearts, there was, and even for the trailer of Country Hearts 2, the whole thing is based around the song that you had written that's going to be a big hit. So, and you mentioned you have a musical background. Did you sing in this movie as well?
Oh yeah, I didn't write the music, but I did sing all the songs. I think between the two movies, I think we recorded eight songs total. Some of them were Christmas carols for the Christmas movie, which I don't want to give away too much. It's not out yet, but yeah, we recorded 8 songs. I think it was crazy. I think before, back in my day of recording music, you'd maybe do one song. You'd record 1 song a day, but I think we were doing 4 per session. So my vocals were just like stripped at the end of these days. But yeah, we did all those. And I forget what your other question was.
No, that was basically what I was just asking you, like, when you have all these songs that you're doing, you're recording them yourself, and what exactly is your singing background?
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. So I don't know. I kind of have like a genre ADHD where I grew up mostly doing musical theater. I was a dance theater kid. So that was kind of how it started, very like classical voice training. And then after I graduated college, I pivoted and was like, I loved country music my whole life. Like I said, I grew up in Cloverdale, which is a rodeo town in BC. And so I was just, all about that country life. And I put some country music out in Canada. And then I ended up moving to Nashville in 2017. Shortly thereafter, I realized I just didn't really feel country in my bones anymore. Bones. At which point I pivoted to pop music, and then really had a lot of fun writing that. And I just started performing a ton around Nashville, and kind of putting out music under just my last name. It was McAuley. And cool. Yeah, I was having so much fun with that. And then the pandemic hit and all my shows got canceled. And I came to California to spend lockdown with my now husband. And yeah, I just kind of put the music on hold, and that hold just never ended because I started working a ton in film and TV. So it was never an intentional stop. It just sort of life did life. And yeah, at some point I really do. I miss the studio. I miss writing. I miss performing. So I'd love to start putting music out again at some point. But at the moment, I'm really focusing on film. So.